What's going on, everybody? Listen, I wanted to share something today with you guys, and I think it's something that's extremely important. Now, I want to share this message or this principle that does not come from GameFowl, but is a principle to me that can be used in GameFowl or applied to GameFowl to your program or what you're doing. Um, and I know I'm starting to do these live streams just out of nowhere, but I'm starting to, ideas come into my head, and I have opportunity to do the live stream. I like to share the information because it's great information. But right now, I'm just down here in the lab, like always, working on some different stuff for the upcoming website that we're going to have. Really drilling down on the hosting programs the hosting that we're going to be using. So, anyway, guys, I want to share something with y'all guys. Is a very, very powerful lesson, something I learned years and years ago, and I continue to say all the time. There's a lot of universal principles that you can learn outside of GameFowl that you can apply to your program in GameFowl, and I'm going to share. Before I share, man, just a few people checking in. We got Hawaii checking in, which is always showing love. What's up, John? Richard, out of nowhere, no worries, just working great for the listeners. Richard, you got that right, man. Out of nowhere, I'm just doing it, man. Um, good friend of mine was saying that, hey, man, you should schedule your live. I say, listen, dude, I'm not doing all of this to grow followers and all that kind of stuff. I'm putting the information out there. They can watch it whenever they get a chance, if they even choose to watch it. So, what's up, Washington? Hey, Zeus. I want to just share some very important principles that I learned years ago, and it makes so much sense. When I break it down to y'all guys, y'all realize that it makes a lot of sense, and it's something that it's something that again does not come from GameFowl, but I promise you, once I explain it to you, you will know that you can definitely apply it to your program. Um, the whole thing just got to notice it over. But listen, guys. So real quick, this is the topic. This is what I want to talk about. Appreciate Tennessee you checking in too. We got Renegade checking in Tennessee. Like I said, I know I ain't got many people watch because it's sporadic, but it was just something that really came to my mind that I wanted to share while I was just down here in the lab working on a new website that we have coming up. So the topic well, I ain't gonna say the topic, the principle that I want to share, and I'm going to share it with some analogies so y'all guys can truly understand what I'm talking about. And it was taught to me. It's not something that I came up with. It was something that was taught to me. Um, it was a principle that was taught to me a long time ago. And the principle was this, which didn't make any sense to me at first when he said it to me. He said, nothing fails like success. Now, you would think fail and success shouldn't even be in the same sentence. But listen to me. He said to me, nothing fails like success. And he stood there to kind of see what my reaction was going to be. You know what I mean? Like how I was going to react to what he just told me. And to be honest, it was like deer in the headlights because I was not kind of confused. I was confused. And I was like, you said nothing fails like success. So I kind of tilted my head down and I repeated it. You know how you get like a trick question or something like that? So I kind of tilted my head down. I'm just like, nothing fails like success. But if it's successful, then it didn't fail. So what is he talking about? Like what do you mean nothing fails like success? So this principle came from a CEO of a large bank organization, large bank institution, not organization, but a large bank institution. Um, and the principle was so deep. So let me get into it of what he meant by it. And he didn't say if it's something he came up with or something he was taught. I don't know. It was totally irrelevant as long as he explained to me. He said, "Do you know what that means?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't know what that means. Like, I don't really understand. Can you explain it to me? Because I don't get it. You saying that nothing fails like success? I had to repeat it to him to make sure that's what he was saying to me. He's like, yes, nothing fails like success. I said, okay, well, can you explain that to me? Because I'm confused. He said, well, this is the thing. Typically, when you become successful, and even the more successful you could become, you start to get complacent. You start to not pay attention to the small details. You start to get sloppy. And I was just sitting back and thinking like, huh. But I'm going through my head and I'm saying to myself, well, I know certain athletes that have been on top for a while. I know this and that. But he's saying across the board. That's why you have to be conscious when you are successful, that you don't get complacent, that you don't get sloppy, and you don't start overlooking the finer details. But then also, too, he said the biggest thing is the fact that you stop striving as hard to improve, to get better, because everything is working so good. You're leading the pack. There is no competition really that is dethroning you. So you doing your thing. You're perfecting, you're honing your skills at the level that you're at. See, that's not improving. You're just really just honing your skills. Are you pushing? Are you pushing the limits to become better, to create something different? That's what he was talking about. And he said that the thing about it is also, like in business, everything has a conversion rate. Some conversion rates are shorter than the others. And what I mean by conversion rate is this: something you do today, you may not see the effects of it for a week, a month, depending on what it is. Some are instantaneously. If you miss your step on the steps, you're gonna fall down right then. It ain't gonna be no lag period. But it's say if you're eating something really bad, you eat something that don't agree with you, at 2 o'clock, you might not realize you got food poison until 4 o'clock. Sometimes you realize it instantly. But in business, this is how we were taught. In a business that we were in, because every business is different. But you have a 6-month grace period or conversion rate, meaning that what you do today, you're going to see the results within 6 months. Some salespeople call it turnaround time, or some mechanics call it turnaround time and stuff like that. So depending on what industry you're in, it could be turnaround time. But with GameFowl, and the reason I said this applies to GameFowl, you ever get to a point in I ain't gonna say you ever, because if you've been in it long enough, you have. So for some of us, you have. For the ones that haven't, you stand it long enough, you will have. But have you gotten to that point, or remember when you hit that season and the season didn't turn out as good as you thought, or as good as you was expected to be, right? The birds wasn't performing. And this happened with me. With birds that I brought. When I first got into the sport, I used to buy birds, batches of birds to take me through the season. And then, typically the next season, I really couldn't really use a lot of those birds, not because of the damage, because of back to what I'm about to explain. But everything has a conversion rate, a turnaround time, a lag period, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to label it. But what you do today, you may not see for 6 months. With GameFowl breeders, what you do today with certain birds, you're not going to see it until next season. Listen to me now. What you do or not do today, you're probably not going to see the results of it until next season. So that applies to everything. If you're not taking care of your birds well, it might not really show up now. But next season, if they ever got to go to the deep, you're going to see that they can't swim. Because what you did 6 months ago, or usually a season ago, is going to show up next season. Same thing when it comes to breeding. You make a bad breeding, you're not going to know that breeding is bad in 6 months. A lot of y'all not gonna know that breeding was a bad breeding until about 18 months or probably maybe 12 months. It's going to be at least a year before you realize you made a bad breeding. It's going to be at least a year before you realize you made a bad breeding. So with that in mind, understand that you constantly have to doing your best, right? Pushing the limits, regardless of how successful your season was. Understand that it was. It doesn't guarantee going forward. Regardless of how good your season was, don't get comfortable on that. Don't get satisfied on that. Just because you did awesome, everything is working good. Don't stop right there. Because let me tell you what ends up happening. By the time you realize that you were slacking, or if it ain't broke, don't fix it. By the time you realize it's broke, you 2 years behind. You like 2 years behind. Just think about that. If you can keep that one thing in mind, that if you don't keep pushing the limits, if you don't keep trying to innovate, create something new, make better birds, healthier, whatever you can do, if you're not constantly trying to do that, understand by the time you find out, by the time your shortcomings are exposed, you're going to be 2 years behind. 2 years behind. So I want to share that with y'all guys because it's extremely important. It's extremely important because 2 years of bad results can sometimes discourage people to just throw in the towel, adjust their whole program, start making drastic changes, and it might send you on a roll of struggle for a long time, 3, 4, 5 years. Some guys never recover from it because they start making a whole bunch of drastic changes, or they make 10 changes at one time and don't know what's working or what's not working. They confuse it more than they started. Y'all guys might think it's simple, might think it ain't even worth to listen to, but I'm telling you, success success is like the greatest failure. It can be if you're not conscious. Because again, when you become successful, get complacent, you get comfortable, you get lazy, and you stop striving to get better. And may not say you stop striving totally, but you stop striving as hard as you were that took you up to the top of the food chain. So that's just a little tidbit of information that I believe that is worth its weight in gold, because you can apply that to everything. Always look at what's the turnaround time on your decisions, the lag period, the conversion rate, whatever you want to name it or label it. It just doesn't only have to do with game foul, but it's something that can totally be applied to game foul, because a lot of times bad breedings, you don't know they're bad into 18 months to 2 years down the road. Now, where you at now? Now, just imagine over those last 18 months or 2 years, you had continue on doing the same thing. Continue on doing, say you did 2 sets of that same breeding. Now you realize 2 years down the road that the first breeding is trash, but you also did it again 12 months later. So now you got 2 sets of breedings that's trash. You got a group of fowl that's 2 years old that's trash, and you got a group of fowl that's 1 year old that's trash. Because 2 years ago you made a bad breeding. You see what I'm saying? So if y'all guys even look or watch, not look, but if y'all guys even watch the interview with Tonio from the Philippines, he said in that interview in the Philippines that the quality of birds improves every 4 years. He said the quality of birds get tougher every 4 years. So he said basically every year you have to be constantly trying to get better, because if you don't, you're going to be behind for 4 years. Because as you're playing catch up, the other guys that was at, the ground level, they're getting better. So as soon as you fall behind, it can take you up to 4 years to catch back up. That goes back to exactly what I was saying. The whole principle of making this video. So it's a lesson, hopefully, that you'll learn. All of us has been to that. Some of us has never looked at it like that. But again, in this sport, everything has a turnaround time, just like everything else, every other business, everything, has a turnaround time, um, has a conversion rate, has, lag, whatever you want to call it. So, uh, again, it's just something short that I wanted to share with y'all guys. For the ones that want to know, some of y'all guys may already know, but for the ones that don't know, it's just something to really, really keep in mind. Don't ever get comfortable with success. When you're doing really, really well, understand, like I have said before, always keep that experiment going on in your yard. You should always have a project on your farm. Always. It doesn't mean you tie, 50 tie cords up or 50 TPs or 50 pins with the project. I'm not saying that. But every year you should have a project. It's called R&D. Businesses call it R&D, research and development. Every single business known to man always are doing R&D. Some of them before others. And the ones who's doing it first, usually are the ones who get ahead. Then you have the ones that just jump in, um, and just have the ones that just kind of jump in afterwards to start copying what somebody else does. So it's just something to really think about. Uh, yeah, Christopher says just be humble. No, I think humble is an attitude. I'm talking about creating something, you know. So humble is an attitude because you can be as humble as you want, but at the end of the day, if you're not improving your line, it doesn't matter how humble you are, you're still gonna fall behind. So I think humble is an attitude more so than what I'm talking about. Um, but yeah, I'm just reading some of the comments. Sometimes winning does more harm than losing. Uh Regular Bermudez says sometimes winning does more harm than losing. You might have won because of luck, and you think you won because you know everything. And since you know everything, you don't look for. That's exactly right, Bermudez. So you hit that on the head, brother. I mean that's exactly right, and that's the reason why guys. I don't know if y'all can hear me, but I'm moving this thing because I know my last video, I kept like the air kept pumping into it, but Bermuda's just made a good point. Sometimes winning can cause more harm than losing. That's exactly right. But it goes back to, like I say, if you're constantly trying to improve and you're not satisfied and you do not ever adopt that mindset of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because by the time you realize it's broke, you're going to be way behind. That's all I'm saying. It's almost like saying don't change a tire as long as it got air in it. So what you gonna do? Run into it's flat and then change the tire? No, you change the tire when you see the thread starting to wear out. So it's just something to think about. But Bermuda's made a really, really good point. And like I say, Christopher, I think what you're saying is exactly right. Be humble. But again, a humble man doesn't mean that he's a thriving man trying to improve himself. It means that his reaction to his winnings. It's just that being humble is just an attitude. But guys, but guys, like I said, excuse me, went down the wrong pipe. Guys, like I said, I hope that made sense. I hope that made sense. To some people, it may not make any sense. And I know I just popped out of nowhere and did this live stream, but it was something that came to mind. I'm down here working in the lab, trying to figure out this cloud hosting for this website, and reading a lot of documents and stuff like that. So, Roland, hey, Roland, what's up, brother? Haven't seen you in a while. With success comes laziness. I heard that all my life. Yeah, that's exactly right. Laziness, complacency, you know what I mean? It comes with a whole bunch of different things. But one thing I do know, like the banker said, nothing fails like success. Because success, like Bermuda say, can cause you to start doing a whole bunch of different things. So, guys, just keep that in mind. Just wanted to make a short video on that. Y'all guys can continue on commenting on it. I'll bring up some other stuff. I've been making some little short TikTok videos and Facebook videos, just trying to share information that I believe that can help individuals out there, because everybody going through their own challenges. Everybody's chasing their dreams. Some people just pretending, to be chasing something. They just actually owning chicken so they can be a part of the crowd and a part of the conversation. Don't have any goals, aspirations, or anything like that besides participating. But again, for the ones that's out there really trying to push and strive and trying to become their best, not comparing themselves to nobody, not comparing themselves to nobody else, but trying to be their best. Nobody always wants to. No, losing is a part of anything. Failure is a part of everything. And you embrace it and you try to learn from it and you try to push forward and at least not fail in that same fashion. So, that saying that was told to me, it is really deep. Nothing fails like success. And it makes a whole lot of sense. It makes a whole lot of sense. So just understand the decisions you make today, especially with those brood pens, you're probably not going to see the results to know if it's a good or bad breeding for 12 to 18 months. And then by that time, you 12 to 18 months behind, and not only 12 to 18 months behind, but you just spent 12 to 18 months feeding something that shouldn't have been fed. And then no telling, if you thought it was a good breeding, you probably did that same repeat breeding the following year. So now you got two sets of birds on the yard that's not up to par. So, like I said, at the end of the day, guys, I hope y'all guys enjoying your weekend. Just ponder on that. Really think about it. Just take that in consideration when you get out there on the yard, doing what you got to do. And understand that, the good and bad decisions you make, you're not going to really see them, in the next 6 months. It's going to be 12 to 18 months before you realize it. So you need to really think long and hard how you put those brood pens together, long and hard on any shortcuts you're thinking about making, long and hard about raising anything that you may be contemplating on. You need to really be thinking long and hard about a lot of those things, because like I say, in 12 to 18 months, you want to see the results of it. And again, them shortcomings going to come up. And if they come up, 12 to 18 months down the road, then that puts you back 12 to 18 months behind schedule. So I'll talk to y'all guys then. Enjoy the rest of y'all weekend, and I hope the information was useful.